Hello, everybody. Welcome. My name's Eliza. We're just going to give a few minutes for everyone to filter back in, and then we'll get started. I'm so happy to have everyone joining us today. All right, and feel free to use the chat with any questions, comments throughout our whole time together today. And especially if you have any trouble hearing me, let me know. All right. And for those of you who may not be familiar with Season Health, Season offers personalized nutrition programs that help you learn to eat healthier without giving up the delicious foods that you love. We provide virtual visits with a registered dietitian, tips and guidance on nutrition, navigating health conditions, and cooking, and thousands of chef-created recipes, some of which we're going to look at today, and affordable pre-made meals available in our app that make staying on track actually achievable and enjoyable. And like I said before, if you think of any questions, you can either use the chat or you can enter them in the Q&A box, which you can find at the bottom of your Zoom screen. I will save some time at the end to go through your questions, so please ask me anything. And we'll go ahead and get started. Today, we are going to be talking about tips for healthy holidays. So I'm your host, Eliza. I am a registered dietitian here at Season, and I'm also a certified diabetes care and education specialist. I have more than 7 years of experience. I love to work with my patients to view their condition from all different angles and fully support people living with this chronic condition. I feel really passionately about meeting patients where they are and empowering them to succeed by defining achievable goals and implementing behavior changes that they can actually implement into their lives. So let's see if we can come up with a few today. So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about planning ahead, ways to be prepared. We're going to talk about staying mindful this season. We're going to talk about movement and maybe in a way that we can actually enjoy. So how to incorporate physical activity in a more festive way this season. And then we'll leave some time for questions and answers. All right. So first things first, we are going to start out with a poll. So if everyone can answer this for me, I'll give a few seconds. What is the most challenging part of staying healthy during the holiday season? So we've got cravings, events or parties, and stress. Those are some of the 3 options. So I'll just give a few more seconds for everybody to answer, and then we can take a look at what people are thinking. But right now, it's looking like a pretty even split. All right, let's take a look. So it looks like we're sort of split with slightly higher percentage of people saying that stress is one of the most difficult parts of staying healthy during the holiday season. And I absolutely agree. You know, stress can really get in the way of so many different things and make it a lot harder. And it's a time of year where even though it's joyful, you know, there can also be a lot of things going on that can cause stress. And then we've got cravings and events and parties kind of lagging. But pretty close. So thank you all for sharing that. It's going to help us really figure out what to talk about. And luckily, we are going to cover stress fully. All right. So let's talk about how to plan ahead. Stress is not something that we can control. All that we can control is what we've done to prepare and what we will do in a situation where we are feeling that stress. So let's talk about the ways that we can be prepared. And I've made a little list of do's and don'ts for holiday events. So do plan your week around the event. So taking some time on a weekend or, right before your week starts, maybe first thing in the morning or maybe right before you go to sleep, writing down what is happening that week, taking a look at your calendar. What events do you have coming up? What dinners, social requirements, if you have meetings scheduled or things that are different from your normal schedule, take a look at them so that you can kind of think about how you will make your week work around them, right? Maybe you have a big holiday event happening on a Wednesday. Um, Maybe that means you really want to make sure that you get a workout in on Tuesday, or that you have planned a meal that's got a lot of vegetables in it for Thursday. Anything that you can do to help balance out your week, knowing what your week is going to look like is going to help you do that. And it's going to show you what periods of time you actually have available to do some of this planning. Do survey all of your options. So once you get to that event in question, don't just immediately pile up a bunch of stuff on your plate and start chowing down, right? Take a moment, look around, think about what's there and what you are looking for. And then you can choose what looks best to you, right? There are certain things that we absolutely don't want to live without. There might be one special holiday food that you could never turn down. And I would argue to live a healthy lifestyle, you shouldn't have to, right? If being healthy is about avoiding the things you love, what good is that? So say that food is like chocolate chip cookies. I love chocolate chip cookies. So if I'm at a holiday event and there's chocolate chip cookies there, I'm going to have one. But maybe I don't care so much about like pumpkin pie. I'm sorry in the audience if you all love pumpkin pie. It's just not my favorite, but I totally understand how delicious it is. But in this example, I don't need to take any of the pumpkin pie. It's not something that's incredibly important to me. So by surveying all my options and choosing the one that's most important to me, that's really going to help you moderate your intake while still having the maximum amount of enjoyment. And then my third tip is always to volunteer to bring something. That way you can be in control of at least one of the options at this event. It doesn't have to be the only thing that you eat, but it's nice to be able to contribute something. It's nice to be able to use some of your newfound health knowledge to bring something that's delicious and nutritious for other people to have as well. Now, those are the things that you should do. There's also a few things that you should not do. So thing number one, don't show up starving. It is never a good idea to wait the entire day to eat something before an event. So if you have an event at 6 p.m. and you're thinking, oh, I'm not going to eat all day, I'm going to, save up all of my hunger for the end of the day, it's not a good idea. Our bodies are physiologically programmed to need to eat when they're hungry. And if you are staving off that hunger, it just makes your body distrust you, so that when there is food available, it's going to eat as much as it can because it's not sure when you're going to feed it again. It's also going to be a lot more difficult to avoid overindulging in some of the foods that we might love if you are showing up somewhere hungry. So make sure that you're eating your meals that day, maybe even some healthy snacks. Don't show up starving. Number two, just like we said, don't avoid all those foods that you love. Figure out how to incorporate them in a way that will still make you feel good by choosing between your options. But definitely don't show up somewhere and say, oh, I can't have that because I'm trying to eat healthy this season, because it's just going to make you crave it more. And that's sometimes what happens with some of these substitute foods as well. We'll talk about a few different substitutions that you can make, and it can be really fun to try new things. But if there's something that you really love, sometimes you're better served just having it and really savoring it and enjoying it so that you can move on from the craving instead of continuing to think about it. And then the last one is don't completely give up. Say you feel you overdid it at a holiday party. That's all, right? It doesn't need to turn into a week where you can't seem to move your body or you can't seem to make yourself a nutritious dinner just because you didn't do what you wanted at one event. If something kind of falls off your radar, you weren't able to do what you wanted to do, that's okay. Accept it and move on and try again the next day. If we give in to this all or nothing mentality, that's really easy to fall into. It can be really hard to climb back out of it. So even if one event didn't go the way you wanted it to, that's okay. Don't let it ruin your whole week. Don't let it give up. Yeah, never give up. I completely agree. And there's always another chance. So even though you don't have to do a bunch of different ingredient swaps, if there's something that you really love, there are a few things that you can think about while you're figuring out what to bring to some of these events to make them a little bit more nutritious, have a little bit less fat, a little bit less salt and sugar, and still taste delicious. And one thing that I always want to say is that your taste buds will change. The things that you enjoy now might not always be the things that you enjoy. And if you try something that you don't love the taste of at first, like one of these swaps, give it another chance. It takes our taste buds some time to adjust. Just like if some of you have been on this journey for a while and have started eating a lot less sugar and salt, the next time you eat things that are higher in sugar and salt, you might even find them to be too sugary or too salty. You just never know. Just like we didn't always like certain foods when we were younger and we like them now. So never underestimate that your taste buds may change. Doesn't mean you have to eat things that you don't like, but might be worth giving them a chance. So here are some easy ingredient swaps just to think about or to possibly try out if they sound good to you, or if you're feeling adventurous. Some of my favorites are different herbs and spices like rosemary or cinnamon instead of salt or sugar. I honestly am not sure why salt gets so much attention when there are so many herbs and spices out there that have such amazing flavor that they can impart in our food. So really trying to think about using like rosemary or oregano or different herbs to flavor your food instead of salt. You can also use things like lemon pepper, cumin, there's paprika. There's so many different foods out there that can really different flavors out there that can really add so much depth to your dish. And cinnamon is one of my favorite ways to add flavor without sweetness. Instead of adding sugar to something, think about adding cinnamon, nutmeg, cloves. These are such warming spices that can add another dimension of flavor to your sweets without adding extra sugar. Speaking of baked goods, you can also try adding pumpkin puree or unsweetened applesauce in place of oil or butter in baked goods. This can be a great way to cut down on the fat content of the dish itself, as well as adding some fiber and giving you a serving of fruit and veggies. And it tends to make the baked goods really moist. So that can be a great way to do it as well. When you're doing that swap, you tend to do a one-to-one swap. Yeah, I'm such a fan of pumpkin as well. It tastes so good in things. Plain Greek yogurt is also another option, not only for baking, but for dips. This is something that's heavily utilized on season. I have to credit our culinary team to turning me on to this. Plain Greek yogurt tends to be a lot lower in fat than sour cream. It's also a lot higher in protein. And I really would say it tastes quite similar. So if you haven't tried it, I would definitely recommend giving it a try. Any place where you would use sour cream, try using plain Greek yogurt. In most situations, especially if it's a savory dish, you've got to make sure you're doing it plain. If you get one of the flavored yogurts, not only is it going to have more sugar, but it might be a different taste than you're expecting. But definitely challenge you all, try plain Greek yogurt in place of sour cream, see what you think. And it's certainly a great idea for dips. Even something like ranch dip where we're typically adding sour cream to it and then you're dipping veggies in it or something. Using the Greek yogurt instead, even though you still have some of the salt and other additives from the ranch seasoning packet, you're getting so much more protein and so much less fat by using the Greek yogurt. So something to try. You can also try cutting sweeter drinks with sparkling water to reduce sugar and add festive bubbles. If you're not fully willing to give up your typical juice or soda, trying half a cup with some sparkling water added in can feel like you're having the full cup, but you get less than half the sugar. Another way to add some fiber into your meals is by using whole grains in cooking or baking, like using oats, whole wheat flour, even if you don't do 100% of it, using half of it. Same thing with other dishes, like if you're making a casserole, you could use whole wheat noodles or brown rice, and you could even do half and half, right? Like half brown rice, half white rice, half whole wheat noodles, half regular, combining them just to increase the fiber content a little. And when you increase that fiber, it's going to help you feel more full and more satisfied and help you eat a little bit less of the dish in question. And then my final and favorite tip, especially if you've ever worked with me before, you know I'm always talking about this, adding more vegetables. Anywhere that you can increase or double the vegetables in a dish to increase its volume is going to help you not only get more of that fiber to be more filling, it's just going to help you eat a smaller portion of the dish overall because it's going to be filled with vegetables. So it's really a win-win. Some of my favorite things to do are to add mushrooms, cauliflowers, peppers, onions, um, and this is a really great idea, adding mushrooms instead of diced ham on a salad. I think that's a great idea. You know, you can eat mushrooms raw or you can cook them. I also think you could do half and half. Mushrooms are one of my favorite things that have like a meaty flavor. So if you're doing something that has ground meat in it, you could use half ground meat and half mushrooms. And not only is it cheaper because then you're only using half of the more expensive product, you're again getting that fiber. So yeah, I think that's a fabulous idea. You'll have to let us know how it turns out. But yeah, any type of baked dish or patties, really easy to add more vegetables to increase the volume, or even if you are making a pasta, add a bunch of vegetables to the sauce. It's just a great way to make sure you're getting your veggies in and help you feel full as well. So what should you bring to these holiday events? If you don't want to have to think about how to adapt any of your own recipes with some of those swaps, Season has done it for you. So these are just a few of my favorite dishes that I think really have a holiday theme that you could bring to any event. And they're all available on the Season website. This first one is a kale salad with rosemary Dijon dressing, grapefruit, and orange. The winter citrus here, it's got some pecans in it, really brings those holiday vibes. I love a good kale salad. It's something that stays really well in the fridge. Even if you've already dressed it, the kale is sturdy enough that it doesn't quite get soggy. So this is a great thing to bring on the savory side. I also love these turkey meatballs with cranberry sauce. This recipe has a sweet potato mash with it, but you also could just make the meatballs and bring them as an appetizer to have as an event. Also a really great use of any leftover cranberry sauce you might have. Speaking of vegetables and baked pasta dishes, we've got baked cauliflower mac and cheese. I would definitely encourage everyone to try this one. It's got the cauliflower in it along with all the traditional mac and cheese ingredients. So it really, you know, I almost can't even tell there's cauliflower in there sometimes, and I like cauliflower. So this is a great one to try just to get some extra veggies there, especially in something warming and cheesy. You know, most things taste good with cheese on them. And then the last savory one is this roasted butternut squash and apple soup. A soup can be a wonderful thing to bring to events because it is filling when you sit down to eat it. So that can also help you eat a little bit less of some of the other things there that maybe you tend to overindulge in, since you have had that soup to help fill you up, give you a good serving of vegetables. And I just love a good squash. And then on the sweet side of things, these warm cinnamon apples are delicious. A great way to kind of get that apple pie vibe without having to go through the effort of making a full pie, and B, cutting down a little bit on the sugar. And then this is another really fun one, frozen yogurt popcorn bark. So it's popcorn, berries, frozen berries, and yogurt that you freeze on a tray in your freezer, and then you cut it up into little bark. So much fun and such fun flavors. And again, cutting down on some of the more traditional salt and sugar that you might find in barks of the season. So encourage you all to give those a try. They're all available on Season. So would love to hear what you all think, and to what your friends think when you bring them to one of these gatherings. So that's sort of the planning ahead, the preparing. The next part is really about staying mindful, which is so important when we're talking about stress. So what is mindfulness? It's actually a concept rooted in Zen Buddhism that you may have heard of, and it's defined by the American Psychological Association as an awareness of your internal states and surroundings. This awareness can help prevent or avoid destructive habits by observing your own emotions in non-judgmental ways. And research has actually proven that mindfulness can reduce stress, anxiety, and improve both your physical and mental health, which we all know are really linked. So how can you practice mindfulness during this holiday season, right? It's so much easier said than done. We recommend savoring the foods you would choose to enjoy this holiday season. Don't scarf down your favorite Christmas cookie in front of the TV and forget you even ate it, right? Really take time to notice how it feels, how it tastes, and savor your enjoyment. Slow down and say no to activities or experiences that don't serve you. You don't have to say yes to everything, right? No one can do it all. So really figuring out what you can say no to is a great way to reduce stress this holiday season. Try enjoying seasonal activities that don't include food, right? Maybe going for a walk and looking at the Christmas lights, or, looking at your surroundings is one of the ways that you enjoy this season. It doesn't all have to be related to food. Another way is to spend a few minutes each day writing a gratitude list. This can be a really great way to take stock of what we have, and really find ways to appreciate the little things. Another tip that I really love, especially when you're feeling overwhelmed or stressed, is to focus on one thing during a walk outside. So go for a quick walk and pick one thing to focus on, whether that's, the feel of the air on your skin, the smell of something, the way something looks. Focus just on that one sense, even if it's just for a few moments, and you'll see how that can help really bring some mindfulness in. And then the last thing is to practice some breathing exercises or meditation. And I love this tip too from the chat here. Finishing each bite and putting your fork down before taking another bite. Chewing is so important to enjoy each bite. I absolutely agree. Thank you so much for sharing that. That definitely is a way to incorporate mindfulness into a meal and help improve your enjoyment. You guys are teaching me. I love it. This is a breathing exercise that you can do anywhere. It's kind of called the 4-7-8 breathing exercise. Especially if you're in a moment of stress, if you can sneak away and do this, I promise it'll make a difference. Part of the reason that breathing exercises can have this beneficial impact on your mental and physical health is because it allows more oxygen to pass through your body. So all you need to do is find a comfortable place, sit with your back straight, place the tip of your tongue against the roof of your mouth, behind your teeth, and hold it there. Close your mouth and inhale through your nose for 4 counts. Hold it for 7 counts, and then exhale completely through your mouth, making a whooshing sound for 8 counts. If you can repeat this cycle for a total of 4 breaths, it has been proven to help calm down our nervous system. So definitely recommend trying this if you're in a stressful situation. And then the last part is joyful movement. So incorporating physical activity. Sometimes this can be the first thing to go, right? When we are busy during this season. So we've got another question for you about what counts as exercise. So let me get that launched. So you all tell me, what counts as exercise? Going to the gym, walking, ice skating, what counts? For all of the above. I'll just give a couple more seconds. I feel like this is an important question because sometimes we don't give ourselves credit, right? We say that, we're very stringent about what counts as exercise. Let's see. Let's see what we all think. All right. And it looks like everybody here knows what's going on. Yes, all of these things count as exercise, not just going to the gym or walking. Ice skating counts too. Any way that you are getting your heart rate up and moving your body counts as exercise. So give yourself your credit for anything that you're able to fit in during this season. It does count. All right. So tips for incorporating exercise. Be realistic about how much activity you expect to get. It probably isn't realistic to go to the gym for an hour every day if you have a super busy season, but trying to fit in 20-minute workouts here or there, that's okay too. It doesn't have to be everything to be enough. Plan your workouts ahead of time, figure out those periods of time where you're going to have an opening to do a few minutes of something. Uh, That is very true as well. Going to the gym is not the same as working out in the gym, right? If you just show up at the gym, you're right. My poll should have been worded better. But if you just show up at the gym, it doesn't quite count. But I would also argue that you are still working to build habits about getting somewhere consistently. So it's not all bad, but absolutely the same. Absolutely, you are right. They are not the exact same thing. And that leads me to my other thing, choose an activity that you actually enjoy and maybe that other people can do, right? The gym can be a more isolating thing, but going for a family walk, going ice skating, cleaning up, dancing around, a lot of people can do those activities all together and they count as exercise too. Um, and maybe even consider using it as a source of stress relief. It's been shown that increasing our heart rate helps release endorphins, which increase our enjoyment. So thinking about that exercising time instead of a chore as something that can actually help bring you some relief might be a way to help you stick with it, even if you don't have the most time. And I would also recommend blocking short periods of time for exercise. Sometimes you can add a little block on your calendar to go for a 10 to 15-minute walk or do some jumping jacks or something like that. A little goes a long way. If you also consistently wear your walking or running shoes as much as you're able to, that's going to help you be able to get in that activity when you do have a moment, since you're already prepared. And then my last favorite thing is to utilize online videos to work out anywhere. YouTube has so many free options that can be great to just add a little bit of movement into your day. And that leads us to the end of our presentation. What questions can I answer for you all? So I'm going to take a look over at the Q&A. And looks like we've got one question so far. What do you recommend drinking at holiday events? Yeah, that's a really good question. So, we want to be careful with our alcohol consumption if that's something that you're talking about at events. Alcohol is not something that helps us make good decisions or is particularly healthy for us. If you have to have it, drink it in moderation, 1 drink for women, 2 drinks for men. I definitely recommend any type of sparkling water beverage, especially if you can put fruit in it, you can put a little juice in it to make it feel festive. If you are drinking something like wine, you could do half a cup of wine and also have some sparkling water, like a white wine spritzer. So it's even less alcohol and you're getting the sparkling water to help hydrate you and cut down a little bit. So always, if you are drinking alcohol, alternate as well with water or another hydrating beverage in between and try to make sure that it's lower in sugar, like the seltzer water or some diet beverages. And another great question is, what if I go overboard and indulge too much? What should I do then? I think this is a great opportunity to incorporate some of our mindfulness exercises, right? Do a breathing exercise, take a few deep breaths, reset, maybe even spend some time planning what the next day is going to look like to help you feel a little bit better, right? Does it mean maybe that you're going to have a healthier breakfast with a little bit more fruit in it? That maybe you'll go for a walk at some point the next day. And then also trying to reflect and think about maybe what happened, what caused you to indulge too much. Did you have a really busy day where you weren't able to find time to eat anything? Maybe that means you need to have more snacks on hand in case something like that happens again, so you don't get to the end of the day starving, where it would be impossible to not go overboard, right? Like I said, it's that physiological response, our body kind of making us go overboard because it's not sure when it's going to get food. So really reflecting on what might have happened in an objective, non-judgmental way can help you prepare for it in the future. And yeah, just don't beat yourself up, right? Things happen. And yeah, the next question is intermittent fasting and the role it plays or not with diabetes. Yeah, so intermittent fasting is a really interesting topic. There is a lot of research out there for different fasting patterns, right? Depends whether it's 12 hours or 14 or 16. There is some evidence that it can improve your metabolic health, your cardiovascular health, even as low as 12 hours. With diabetes, the things I would just be careful about is if you are experiencing any low blood sugars during your fasting period, that would be a sign that maybe intermittent fasting is not right for you. And also, if you get really hungry during your fasting period and end up overindulging when the fasting period is over, that can also kind of get in the way. So I would just be careful about those two things. If you're considering doing intermittent fasting and you have diabetes. And yeah, well, that's great that you've done it since and have lost 100 pounds. It has great benefits for people. I would just watch out for those couple of pitfalls that might happen to some people and not others. And then can you find the recipes anywhere? Yeah, you can find the recipes on Season Health. Those are the exact names of them. So you should be able to find them in Season Health. Yeah. Any other questions for today? And we are going to have a recording that we send out of this as well. So that's how you can get the names again if you need them. I think I answered all the questions. Well, I want to thank you all for joining us today and wish you all a very happy rest of your month. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next time. You all.